Hello everyone and welcome to the next presentation of SECON 2024, the European Cybersecurity Skills Framework, short ECSF, a Swiss knife for every cybersecurity practice. In the next 15 minutes, I'll give you a brief introduction to this great resource that is open for everyone to use. And I hope you'll come out of this presentation with a lot of ideas how you can implement it in your daily work or in your cybersecurity practice. So let's get started. The first thing I would like to start with is a question. I think many of you have been through the ISC2 certification exams, maybe the CISP, maybe the CISI, and you have those vivid, warm memories of multiple choice questions with just one correct answer. So here I have prepared one special one. It is also tricky because it has a negation in it. So which of the statements below is not true? Statement number one, the ECSF aims to establish a common understanding of the cybersecurity professional role profiles in Europe. B, the ECSF was created by the European Union Agency for Cybersecurity, ENISA. Option C, the ECSF lists the top 10 most popular cybersecurity roles, along with their title, mission, task, skill, knowledge, and competences. And last option, D, for-profit organizations outside the European Union are allowed to use the ECSF framework free of charge. Which statement is not true? 3, 2, 1. It's statement C. The ECSF lists not the top 10 most popular cybersecurity roles, but actually the top 12. On this slide, you can see the 12 profiles which the ECSF has selected as core profiles that build up the cybersecurity field in general. We have the role of the CISO, of the incident responder, of the compliance and policy officer, but also we have roles just like the cybersecurity architect, the cybersecurity risk manager, and the pen tester. Those roles are technology agnostic. You will not see a specific role for, let's say, cloud cybersecurity architect. This is on purpose so that the profiles could be applicable to different geographies, to different technology stacks, to as many contexts as possible. Let's take a look into one example. What is inside a profile? I would like to pick the profile of the cybersecurity risk manager. This is really one of the foundational one. Almost every organization has some form of a cybersecurity risk manager. And what the cybersecurity risk manager would do, well, they manage the cybersecurity related risks aligned with the organization of with this organization strategy. This is kind of the mission, and actually the ECSF goes into much more details. If we take a look at the section dedicated to the cybersecurity risk manager, you would see that it contains the following information: alternative titles, maybe in some organizations it is called information security risk analyst. You would see the mission, why it exists, and also what are the deliverables. Thinking about my role, an incident responder, for example, the deliverables that would common have are a forensic report. The pen testers would have a pen testing report, etc. So the cybersecurity risk manager has a cybersecurity risk assessment report as a very common deliverable. Also listed are the main tasks, skills, and knowledge. These sections are standard. You would see them repeated for each of the 12 profiles, which makes it very easy to navigate between them, compare them, and use them as a reference. Let's take a look at one more example. This is what my ECSF profile would look like. So I am an incident response consultant. This is the profile that corresponds most closely to what I currently do. But a big part of the role of an incident responder is digital forensics. So that's why the role of digital forensics investigator is kind of a sub-role that fits into my current position. And in my free time, I love to volunteer. I love teaching cybersecurity to different audiences. So I am a hobby cybersecurity educator. This is just one example how you can have one position which actually combines elements of the different profiles, and is this unique to your organization and to your case. So who can benefit from the ECSF? Probably the sky is the limit, but to be a bit more specific, organizations, both small and large, can benefit from the framework. I'll give you a few examples right after this slide. Also, individuals can benefit from the ECSF. How? Let's say that you're a career changer. You have started in another field and you're changing into cybersecurity. You'd like to find out what is out there. What can I do that already makes use of the skills I have gained in my previous role so that I'm not starting completely from zero? This is a great resource for you. Skilling, learning providers, whether you're developing training courses or you're a university or different type of online courses provider, for example. You can use the ECSF in order to structure your portfolio of the trainings and be very clear in the communication with your audience for whom is this course. So as you can see, the ECSF is really a Swiss knife with multiple applications. Well, I'm based in Switzerland, I'm biased. I think it's quite handy to have one tool like this, and I use it myself quite often. So now let's look at 3 specific use cases, how the ECSF can be put to work. The first one is the ECSF for resource planning, kind of hiring people. In our example, we'll take a small company or small mid-sized company, which is, let's say, cloud service company. Up until now, they have been active very much locally. They have an, of course, IT operations team. They have reduced that do the networking part, but also do some of the security. One of them is particularly passionate about it, but there isn't a formal cybersecurity practice. And now with NIS2 knocking on the door with all of the new regulations, they need to set up a proper cybersecurity practice. So what they can do, and actually this is one of the big challenges, because internally, very often there isn't the expertise at the human resources team whom they need to hire. They can take the ECSF and identify what are the profiles, the 5 key roles that they would need in order to support their cybersecurity baseline. The first one would be somebody to set the strategic vision, the CISO. Then somebody who would help them navigate the jungle of regulations, a legal officer, then somebody to do the planning, the design of the new cybersecurity controls, and of course, people to implement them. For the case when things go wrong, throw some incident response into the mix. So this could be their plan, the 5 profiles that they will need to fill. As you could see, for some of them, we already have good candidates. So thinking about, for example, the 3 dudes in the network team that are particularly interested, well, they would be good candidates to be upskilled. Send them to trainings, provide them with resources, give them some dedicated time, please. And they would probably be very excited to fulfill this role. Maybe you have somebody in legal who would be able to do part-time the job of a cyber legal officer, etc. So for 3 of them, you can upskill internally employees. The next one, the CISO one, is commonly something that you would recruit externally. And the incident response one is actually, in my experience, something that very often it's outsourced, because this is very in-depth expertise, which very quickly gets stale. So it is something you can get a retainer to support you with. This is one example how the ECSF could help a small to mid-sized company plan their new cybersecurity practice. Now let's look at a big company. How a big company could use the ECSF for setting up a cybersecurity department. And I know what you're thinking, if it's a big company, how come they don't have cybersecurity? Well, actually, there are some large organizations out there that still don't have a cybersecurity department. Those are usually organizations which are not in ICT, for example, manufacturing. If you're producing pasta or gnocchi, you don't need necessarily cybersecurity team from day one. But if you're a serious company that wants to export internationally and grow, at some point you realize that actually you're a very attractive target for attackers like ransomware gangs. So you are at the point where there is a budget, there is executive support, you have green light to set up the team. What do? Well, normally such big organizations would follow a different approach compared to the small companies. They would first hire a Chief Information Security Officer, CISO. And the CISO would set up actually the strategic vision. One thing that they can use during this process is they can use the ECSF to define a structure of the future department. And the structure could, again, use the different profiles. How could this work? Think about the backgrounds of most or a fair amount of the fair number of the CISOs that are out there. Many of them come from business. So they bring with themselves already established management processes like frameworks that have been tested, work, and they want to apply them in this context. One of the frameworks that is often being used is the one which consists of 4 stages: plan, implement, operate, and improve. So if the goal of the CISO is to set up a new department, then they will start with planning. And the question here is, what roles from the 12 profiles that are in the ECSF could support the planning of this new department? Well, there would be the policy officer, there would be the risk manager, and the cybersecurity architect. Once those members are there, there would need to be somebody who actually implements what the cybersecurity architect has planned. This is the role of the cybersecurity implementer. I think that's that profile was for me a bit tricky to get. It is kind of a cybersecurity engineer / SOC level 1 and 2 analyst. If you want to upskill people, well, you need cybersecurity educators, probably externally hired. And we go like this through the 4 stages. This is one very easy way that an established management planning framework could be combined with the ECSF for great results. Also, great results can be achieved if you use the ECSF for upskilling and reskilling. Very quick note, upskilling, what is the difference between upskilling and reskilling? Upskilling is when you provide additional resources, training to people who are already in your organization so that they can fulfill a new role. Reskilling is actually when there is a big change in the responsibilities. It's not a continuation, but really a shift. Let's say a person who was before that doing technical drawing decides to go and work as a pen tester. So upskilling is gradual change, reskilling is a more noticeable one. The example I'd like to give here is something that I saw being implemented in my organization. We decided to set up an internal SharePoint, a one-stop shop for anyone in our organization who is interested in growing into cybersecurity, with resources how they could get started. The skeleton of the SharePoint that we set up was actually 12 profiles of the ECSF. We took them one-to-one as a naming. And when you click on each of the profiles, you'd be taken to what you see on the right-hand side. You'd be taken to an internal page which lists the key information from the profile, like the mission, the skills, and the knowledge, with some additions. At the bottom, we added, for example, the internal roles. Very often, there is a specific company naming for a role, so it's not quite visible, quite obvious that a cybersecurity risk manager is actually an incident manager for products internally. So providing this mapping of the names is very useful. Then you could have training resources. What are the training resources? Well, there are internal and external ones. The internal ones are things which are really specific to your organization. Let's say you have an intranet page, or maybe you have a subscription course that your employees have access to. You could list it here. There are also the external resources, online courses, books, all of this. If you want to go a step further, you could add certifications. You could also add mentors, people who have raised their hand and said, I am in a role of cybersecurity manager. I would love if people contact me and I can share about my experience, give them tips how to get started. As you can see, the ECSF is very flexible. It has a lot of applications. It is a great resource, and I encourage all of you to get a copy of it, check it out. The main document that you need is called the ECSF role profiles. You can find it on the ENISA website, and I think with some creativity, you'll find many applications for the information there. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope this was useful, and I look forward to hearing how you got to use the ECSF.